Now let's summarize the performance levels of a teacher implementing information from this module into the classroom. Now, performance levels can be found in the North Carolina Teacher Evaluation Process Manual and in the Resource Manual for Administrators and Principals Supervising and Evaluating Teachers of Young Children. So see the link on this side. The developing teacher would review the module or the websites and begin to implement a few activities or experiences that would promote 21st century learning. The proficient teacher would implement activities and learning experiences that he or she had discovered through the module and the webinars and the website in sort of an intentional, consistent manner, but based on children's interest. The accomplished teacher would consistently expand and build on 21st century content based on previous experiences and activities that reflect the children's understanding and their interest in their new knowledge. Now, what would that distinguished teacher do? Organize and conduct professional development and learning sessions for colleagues and families and community to share the information and successes of the children's growth and development. So now let's put it together, bringing the 21st century learning ideas for your classroom. You can do it with projects. Look at those that are listed. Native American symbols, multicultural books and music, restaurants, Earth Week, Week of the Young Child, visitors from local and surrounding communities, international visitors, technology.
Yeah, Bobby, I mean, you can Skype with people that are not living nearby, grandparents, parents that are overseas maybe. You can do blogs, news, digital cameras you can use, and the kids can use those too. You can use your video camera on your phone, websites, pictures, virtual field trips. There's so many things.
Look at those games and activities down there.
Yeah.
I've seen a session where they actually made passports and took trips around the world with their passports and stamped them. So there's so much going on here. In your journal, think about some activity experiences that you could implement.
Yeah, we leave the slide up for just a moment and then write in your journal some ideas. What could you use? One approach. I hope you got started on some ideas. But if you didn't, here are a lot of more resources for you. Websites to explore. Cooking, languages, multicultural crafts, animal sounds. Just be cautious when you use a website to translate that you need to check with a native speaker to make sure that the translations are accurate. That's a caution we always give to teachers. We have a whole section in the LiveBinder module where you can find all of these resources and the links to access all of them.
Now let's talk a little bit about technology and way to bring it into the classroom or to bring the world into the classroom. North Carolina teachers are expected to integrate and use technology in their instruction. That's North Carolina Professional Teaching Standard 4D. Technology is all around us and important to children's learning. There's many forms of technology, not just a computer. Cameras, phones, adaptive equipment, computers, tablets, iPads, whiteboards, touchscreens, DVDs, music players. I can go on and on and on. Remember that light tables and flashlights and projectors and scales for weighing and measuring, yardsticks, they're even technology.
I had no idea, Bobby, that those kinds of things are really technology, and we use it a lot with our children.
Another materials that support technology are your blocks, different sizes, different shapes, the photographs that you use, your supplies, your pencils, your crayons, your paints, your recycle boxes, the props, toy vehicles, people, dinosaurs, animal figures, clocks and watches, timers, flashlights, I just said that, didn't I? Measuring tape. But do know that there are all kinds of materials that support technology.
And as teachers of young children, one of the things we have to do is we must ensure that all technology is used in developmentally appropriate ways that optimize opportunities for young children's cognitive, social, emotional, physical, and linguistic development. We need to remember that the brain's functioning, and therefore the readiness for any type of learning, is shaped by many factors. The environment and interactions influence the development of a young child's brain. Like a sculptor, the child's experience prunes away unneeded or unused synapses, while strengthening those patterns of connections that are repeatedly used. And a brain which is actively involved and curious is likely to develop stronger connections than one brain that is merely a passive recipient of learning. And this language is really entailed in The Endangered Minds, a book by Jane Healy. So, there is another tab on the live binder which is called Classroom Adventures. Look there to find even more resources and examples that relate to children's experiences and learning and 21st century projects. But we always need to remember,
Well, the preschoolers really learn best about their environment through their 5 senses and being involved. So encourage the children to be a watcher, an explorer, a listener, a mover. Focus for the environment. It's so important for preschoolers to learn about the indoors and the outdoors, their backyard, the community. Focus on the world from their perspective. Ecology, recycling, planting, growing, wildlife, pollution, and plan activities to develop environmental awareness, like an ecology hunt. Plant a tree. Establish a community garden. Stay away from focusing on one aspect of environmental awareness. That thing that I see so much recycling. Go way beyond that. Use water from the water table to water plants inside and outside. Use sand from the sandbox for science experiments. Expand your mind on the kinds of things that work here.
And you know, Bobby, it is really important that we integrate a worldwide view into our pre-kindergarten and kindergarten curriculum, which means that you go beyond all of the stereotypical things like food festivals and holiday focus. So a couple of additional ideas related to literacy. A variety of books, fiction, nonfiction, pictures, braille, other languages, stories about the children and adults, old and young, from other countries, and create some of those books with the children and encourage children to create their own books. And if you think about the physical development, remember to always have adaptations so that children are able to manage the life in the preschool classroom if they have a disability. Things such as switch toys, communication devices, walkers, so they can truly participate in all kinds of activities. And Bobby, what about science?
Oh, study weather patterns all over the world. Mercy, we get a chance to do that every day with our weatherman person. Provide experiments. Learn how we and other countries take care of the earth. And in math, learn how to count in a different language. My children could always say uno, dos, tres, cuatro, cinco, and seis, and that's about far enough. To study the shapes of buildings in different cultures and measure distances and time concepts.
And you know, Bobby, if you had a kid like me in your class, you would teach him 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Oh.
Whoa! So again, match it with the children in your classroom, always. And then think about those social requirements or skills that children really have to learn. expand their worldview in meaningful ways, beginning with them, their self-awareness, with the family, where do I belong, then the community, my friends, my neighbors, the store, the church, and then the culture, their values, their ideology, and then the bigger world, not the other way around. So, what do you think about reading books, listening to music, exploring art, projects? Focus again on the children in your classroom, their culture, their home, their language, the community that they live in, and their traditions and rituals.
Yeah, I think the most important point we're making here is that it's from the child's perspective that we're talking about the kinds of things that make good sense to them and give meaning to the kinds of things that they're learning about.
And that we really respect all the diverse people in our community and in our classroom community. So, let's take a quick example of the North Carolina Teacher Evaluation Standards, particularly Standard 2, Teacher establishes a respectful environment for diverse population of students. Element B, embrace diversity. And so here the goal is that teachers promote respect and appreciation for each child's culture and the cultures of others, and embrace community relationships. And here are some ideas listed of what it is you can do. But we want to give you just a moment to write in your journal some ideas that you think of when you read this standard and this element. So, Bobby, you want to share your thoughts?
Well, I want to tell you a personal story about that last standard we talked about. Whenever I go into a classroom, in fact, I've gone into a classroom about embracing diversity, and it's talking about ages and stages and things like that. A couple years ago, there was a great deal of focus on that in some classes that I was working with. So every time I went to visit in a classroom, they would greet me with, "Are you an old person?" And I said, "Well, I think so." And one little boy said, "Well, you are, because we studied about you yesterday." So right away, I was labeled the old person who'd come to visit. So look here at project examples.
That would be one.
Yeah, that's an
Studying
example.
the age of people.
And selecting storybooks and having visitors like we talked about. Taking field trips. Talk about when the visitors come, what you learn from the visitors. And then putting books in the romantic play area. Real life props like a photo wall or an album of children's activities. Create a classroom book of children's drawings and comments based on, this says here 5 items of exhibits, but anybody that comes, this is really talking about a project example of firefighters and the kinds of things that I observed in a classroom.
Yeah, and always remember that the children will take you there and you follow the children's lead and their interests. So, let's give you a chance to do some work on your own and work with the North Carolina Teacher Evaluation Standard 3. Teachers know the content they teach, specifically element C, promoting global awareness, and element D, identifying relationships between the core content in foundations and 21st century content. Now here the goal is that the teacher plans a year-long project of preschool global awareness activities and 21st century content, including the interest of the children. So what we want you to do is go to the tab in the module that's called Your Ideas, then click on Reflection Topics, and you'll find a link to this activity. Do it independently or with a partner, and then look for the companion that will give you other ideas in addition to the ones that you have written in your journal. So take some time and go there and do the activity, and then go to the tab called Next Steps.